It must be yours, huh?
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Try that.
There you go. I already got hearings on the air.
I mean, you can actually hear the meeting through those. If you want to do an application or whatever, they're live. So.
Just set them off there.
Yeah, it's got noise canceling stuff.
You got special.
It has a noise canceling, but yeah, if you want to hear the meeting, whoever's speaking on the microphone, you can hear them clearly on this one.
You get one for Jessica too. She just told me I have to eat the mic, otherwise she can't do it.
Nobody can hear you.
I like it that way.
And I'll actually have here.
Monitoring.
So he'll try, if you're not speaking loudly, he can turn up the gain a little bit.
So does that move the camera swivel? Does he have access?
Yeah. Yeah, we can control. I can control this. But I figure for now, we'll just leave it. I've got more cameras too. We'll face one this way. We have options.
Wow. We're all the same building. So we're sitting in the parking lot listening to what's going on, and it's like very concerning.
That's what I was talking in the orange area.
Yeah, the zero.
And it's going
It is so massive and growing, and we're listening to radio. So it's like,
Can we monitor
stand
that?
here and talk?
I'm gonna get.
Yeah.
Daughter, son,
Never a dull day.
Hi, how are you? Mallory Cody. Nice to meet you.
Hi, Mark Smith.
Mark, it's good to meet you also. Thank you. Joe, how are you?
I'm better than nothing, she said.
Well, excellent. Suzanne, nice to see you also.
George 17.
Oh, yeah.
Matt Lemon's on your constable.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
You got all dressed up this way.
Yes, sir. That's fine. You're first on the agenda after we get through the parade. George 17. Hey, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice to meet you. It's a pleasure.
Yeah.
Hey, Valerie.
No, that's.
Yeah, I sent an email to your assistant about this board certification thing. I was wondering if maybe sometime soon we could get together and talk about that because it's, I'm the president of our HOA as well. Having to do some of the, but having to do some of the things.
Colonel.
This certification requires.
See you, sir.
For a pool that was built in 1994 is pretty outrageous. I appreciate it.
I would like to know.
Yeah, well, I haven't called. I emailed. Like I said, who's your assistant?
Well, Deborah Rachel.
Deborah.
I know.
I can call her.
If you do, either one of them else, just tell me
Like I said, I already sent an email. She had told me that.
about me.
Well, no, she told me that she was going to get with health people and you and all this, but again, we never heard anything. I was like,
We'll email back or call and just visit.
yeah.
Showed a lot of restraint.
Well,
Well, I mean, one of the big things that worries me is they want us to put a hot water system. We don't have any plumbing for that in our pool house. Which
You
means I
ready
have
for
to
Easter, Joe?
walls down.
You ready
put
for
in
Easter?
Hot water.
Ready for Easter?
It's
Think so.
it's an Oak Grove
Yeah.
community pool.
Kind of.
It's been there since the 90s.
90s,
Have a
94.
good Easter shirt on.
So,
Have a good Easter shirt.
Wow.
Hey, you got some scotch in there?
No,
No?
not this time.
Yeah.
Not this time.
Do you have any folks in that area, or are you good?
It's flowing, just like my positive energy is just flowing into my body and out through my hair.
You start doing dreadlocks, you're gonna have to talk.
I don't think that's in my future, but I'm not counting out.
We feel like the 80s hairband.
I'm gonna leave at
I
7:15. My wife will forget. Oh, do you? Yeah, I'll go at 7:30.
Oh, yeah.
I don't like this anymore.
About our president.
Yeah, it's only a matter of time. What about the clean shaven part? That's
I kind of like that.
All right.
WTC, oh my God, that was, I watched that movie. I was nearly crying.
All righty. Mr. Operations Manager, are we ready to go? Yes, sir. All right. Good evening, everyone. It is 6:04. This meeting of the Fern Bluff Municipal Utility District Board of Directors has come to order. Before we do anything else, I just want to welcome anyone who's watching us live streaming through the Fern Bluff website tonight. Welcome. This is the first time we've done that. We may have some glitches, so hopefully if we do, we'll get them worked out in short order. Thank you. Roll call of directors. All directors are present and accounted for. Colonel Tiber, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance this evening?
Thank you.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Director Tiber. All right. We're going to do things a little bit out of order because we have some guests this evening. Our district has been moved into the 3rd precinct of Williamson County, and therefore we have a new county commissioner in charge of our precinct. And so I'd like to welcome Valerie Covey and Matt Lindeman, our constable, and our justice of the peace. What is your name, please? Evelyn McLean. Sorry, didn't catch it. If you'd like to address our board and our residents right now, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's okay. Lights. We're good. Hello. Okay, perfect. Thank you for allowing us to join you tonight. I'm going to pass the mic to my fellow servants here, public servants. We are honored to have Fern Bluff in our precinct now. I'll tell you a little bit more about myself in a minute, but I want to make sure that you knew our team, if you will, that we serve Precinct 3. Precinct 3 goes from Bell County really almost to Travis. We have a little bit south of 45. And, so it's a very large area, but I can speak to the fact that we're all very engaged in our efforts. And so we're thankful to be here tonight to talk a little bit about what's going on. But I wanted to make sure I could have Matt and Evelyn be here with us today too and talk. So I'll pass it over to you guys. You can introduce yourselves.
Hello, everyone. I don't want to have my back to the audience.
Fine.
Is that a law enforcement thing?
My name's Matt Lindeman. I'm the Precinct 3 Constable as of October. I am new to the Constable's office, but this is my 37th year in law enforcement in Williamson County. I've served the residents of Williamson County as a jailer, as a deputy, as a state trooper, a Texas Ranger for 21 years, and I worked at the district attorney's office as an investigator leading up until October of last year. The reason I'm your constable, regrettably, our constable Kevin Stoffel passed away unexpectedly, and the Commissioners Court needed someone to fill the remainder of his term, and they couldn't find anybody else in Williamson County, so here I am.
That's not true.
I'm honored to serve in this position, in this capacity. It's a new direction of law enforcement to me, but Constable Stoffel had a great staff there. Everyone remained. The transition was pretty well seamless. So I have 14 great employees, and we look forward to serving you all here in Fern Bluff as well as the rest of the constituents of Precinct 3 and Williamson County. So thanks for your time. Thanks for having us. There's some really bad weather in the north part of the county. As soon as the judge who rode with me speaks to you all, we're going to have to do it.
Understood.
Thanks.
Thank you for your share.
Thank you.
It's all good. I appreciate you being here.
Let me just say, while she's handing those out, that we were very blessed to have Matt say yes when I asked him to serve as constable. His resume is unbeatable, and he is, besides the words on a paper, he's a great guy and somebody who will serve us well. So I appreciate his willingness to say yes. I don't think he will ever speak to me again, but no, we work well together. So thank you.
All right, thank you for having me. My name is Evelyn McLean. I'm your Justice of the Peace now for this precinct, and I'm in my 4th year. I have the 22nd busiest court in the entire state of Texas, and Constable Lindeman's going to hand out some packets, and in it you'll see some statistical information on our court. If you were to add precinct 1, 2, and 4 all together, it doesn't even total the amount of work that our court does. Also, there are 3 things that are very important to me in my office. Number 1 is professionalism. Because we're a high volume court, I want to make sure we dot all those I's, cross all those T's, make sure that our work product is accurate as it can be. The second thing is outstanding customer service. People are not happy when they come to pay a ticket, and I don't blame them. I don't want them to feel like they're coming to another government office. So we strive to have outstanding customer service. And then the third thing is, I don't want it to be just Judge McLean out in the public, because that our whole team, we have 18 in the office. I make 19. We are a team, and we all make that office run. So we will occasionally go out and do community service type projects. We have delivered Meals on Wheels. We've played bingo with some residents at a nursing home and had lunch with them. We built a pergola for the Nest, which is a homeless shelter for teens in Georgetown. We have washed greenhouse windows for BIG, which is an organization that serves people with special needs. So we just try to get involved in our community as much as we can. And also, I want to say one thing about our office that I'm proud of. We have won in the last, well, actually during the pandemic, we won 3 awards. The Texas Association of Counties Award. We won a National Association of Counties Award, and we also won the Texas Justice of the Peace and Constables Association Award. So we work hard to do what we have to statutorily, but then we strive to go above and beyond. I truly want to serve y'all. I come from a law enforcement background. I've had many years of service. I truly want to be of service to all of you. And I'll just leave my business cards here if anyone wants to pick it up. Feel free to call me anytime and come by and visit. I'd love to meet with you all more. Sorry to be so quick, but I didn't know how much time we have. And if you have any questions on what I passed out, again, call me and I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry that we have to rush off tonight. They're going to go ahead and go, and as soon as I'm through, I'll need to leave also because of the bad weather that we have in the northern part of our precinct. And we pray that it's just a lot of wind out in the middle of nowhere.
Thank you.
That doesn't impact any structures or people. We've had a time of it, haven't we, recently? Is it better for me to stand up there? Is it better for me to sit here?
You have a
Or you're-
microphone in front of you.
Is that okay?
that's
So the
fine.
people that are online can
They'll be able to hear if you're in
Okay,
front of the microphone. either
Perfect,
way.
perfect. I too don't like to have my back to you. So hello, I'm honored to serve you, Valerie Cody, and it's nice to meet you. I'm sorry I won't be able to speak to each one of you individually, but if you need anything, you're welcome to call my office at any time. So I've been a county commissioner since 2006, and when I first became commissioner, Precinct 3 actually was had part of Brushy Creek. And then Avery Ranch came around while I was commissioner, kind of starting those homes, in that time frame. So 3 of us had Avery Ranch, and we redistricted Precinct 3 out of this area. This time, we have now taken Precinct 3, as I mentioned before, from Bell County, Florence, some of Jarrell, most all of Georgetown, and you keep coming south, and we have the regional park. We have, of course, Sendero Springs, and really all of Brushy Creek mud, and now all Fern Bluff mud, and still some of Avery Ranch. And we go south of 45 a little bit, but there's not any houses there right now. So all of that to say, it's a very large and diverse area with small communities and large cities, and getting larger every day. It's a constant battle to keep up with the growth. That is one of the biggest issues that we have. Along with that, I know there are obviously a lot of road projects, and I spend a lot of time on road projects. But before we get into those, I'll just tell you that my background, I'm a CPA. And although I haven't been practicing as a CPA because this is a full-time job, I keep my license current. And I believe that helps me a lot, especially in the job that you hold here as directors, and myself with the budget, and we set the tax rate, not the appraised value. I know that the issues that we have experienced because of our growth over the last few decades is really apparent, especially in the mental health world. I am the court's liaison for mental health, and I serve on the behavioral health task force that we have partnered with different community members, including hospitals, including the 2 mental health hospitals that we have in Williamson County. And then also a lot of community folks that care deeply about this issue in trying to fill gaps. I will mention that we work alongside our local mental health authority, Bluebonnet Trails, and they're located in Round Rock, but they serve our county and 7 others. We are opening up different facilities even this month to accommodate law enforcement diversion center, which will be an alternative to taking everyone to jail. There's some people that need to be incarcerated. I'm not to say otherwise, but there are a lot of times there's folks with mental health issues that we can find other answers for, and the recidivism rate has declined, and it helps that person. And no matter how you look at the situation, it's also financially the best idea. So there's so many things happening in the county. There's a lot to talk about, but I know that you're concerned about a few things right here. So let me just touch base on that, and then I'm open to any questions or anything you have. One of the projects that, as soon as we knew that this was going to be in Precinct 3, one of the projects that was brought to my attention was the issue at Wyoming Springs and Smyers. And before that whole area in Smyers became as populated even as it is, we built King of Kings to connect HEB to get out, and that seems to help. But Smyers at Wyoming became an issue, and so what we have decided to do is to build a left turn lane. If you're going south on Wyoming Springs, a left turn lane, as if you were going to the I just went Walgreens. Yes, I don't know why I go there all the time. The Walgreens, and it will allow the traffic that needs to turn to get out of the way of the traffic that wants to go south to 620. That project, we've already started that project. It will actually, you'll see actual work done in May, and it should be about 30 to 35, 40 days to finish. So sometime in June, depending on the weather, of course. That I think is the next step. Now, there's some folks that wanted to do a hooded left where you could not go across and turn left to go north on Wyoming Springs from Smyers. And the problem with that right now, I don't want to fix one and cause another if we can help it. And so I wanted to do it incrementally. What we're doing now won't be a throwaway if we choose to do something in the future. But if you're going to HEB, if you live over here and you're going to HEB and you want to come back home, you would not be able to turn left if I stopped that turning movement. You would have to then O'Connor or some other way to get back home, which is going to put more of a burden on those road systems. And the better way would be to spread it out. So we want to look and see the traffic patterns and what is happening after we make this move. Okay, so I just wanted you to know that we're looking at it and we'll keep monitoring that. And with your help in helping us know what's going on here, that will be great. Okay. I know that there's a big bridge being built, right? Yes, the Great Oaks Bridge is on track to finish next spring, basically, I guess about a year from now. And there will always be a path through there. They'll continue the old bridge usage until the new bridge, and then we'll take the old bridge down. And of course, Harry Mann is complete with that project, with the exception of the bridge area. And I'll tell you a few things. Of course, I didn't begin this project. I inherited this project, and so I'm learning about it. But my understanding is that there were some parking issues for the park there. That's going to be improved. There's also the trail that will continue to be there. Regional trail will go under, so that'll be a little safer there at that intersection with as much traffic as in that area. And then Wyoming Springs, right? Wyoming Springs, y'all did hear that it's going to extend, right? Yes. So let's talk about that one for a minute. It's a Round Rock project, and they are, as my understanding, as far as I know, they are on track with that project. They're moving forward. There's been a lot of discussion, I think, with you guys and with others about what will that cause? What will happen? What are the concerns? And some of it, to be honest with you, until the project is finished, there'll be some things that we don't know about, and there'll be things that we worry about that really aren't going to happen. But at this time, they're moving forward with it. My understanding is that they're going to break ground next year about this time, is still sometime in 23. And every time I ask an engineer how long a project takes, they tell me 18 to 24 months. So I'm going to tell you that. I don't know what Round Rock's told you, but that seems to be the answer. So one of the things that obviously with Creek Bend opening, and when I was commissioner down in this area, Creek Bend was not there. And there was a lot of strain on the very few paths across the creek. The more we can have, it seems to spread the traffic out. But Creek Bend is taking on a lot of traffic, right? And so a Wyoming Springs connection over the creek, the intent is to spread the traffic out. Now, obviously, you can't go to 1431 directly on Wyoming Springs, even when this section to Sam Bass is finished. You'll be able to go up to Sendero, and it does go into the neighborhood, but I'm not sure that's the way you might want to go. Eventually, that road will connect to 1431 through privately owned land where Round Rock has an agreement with them to connect it up. But that is in the future. No, neither the county nor the city have funds for that at this time that I'm aware of for the city. I know the county doesn't. When Wyoming extends up to Sam Bass, one of the things that, and we can talk about Sam Bass project also. One of the things that I've been looking at doing is to connect a trail system, not just the Brushy Creek Regional Trail, but also going north and south. And so one of the things I've been trying to do before this became part of Precinct 3 was to say, from the regional park, how do you get north and south? Because we have a trail there, and we have, if you go north, Parkside is there, and then also, it goes up to Leander Road. Because when we straightened out 176 or Parkside now, the trail goes up to Leander Road. When Leander Road is the neighborhood that's being built, Parkside on the river, north side of Leander Road there, he has about 7 years total to build the bridge at the San Gabriel. And when he does that, when that developer does that, he's taking the trail from Leander Road up to that point. And when he goes to the river, now it's going to be able to connect into the Georgetown system. Because to the west of that point is where Gary Park is. And there is communication, there's development agreements along those developers along that river that will take that. So now let's go south. You're at the regional park. Of course, there's an intersection there at 1431 that people could go across, but we're looking at other options to cross to connect it up to our Sam Bass project that will then take it down to Wyoming Springs. And now we're back to where we started. Wyoming Springs will carry the trail south to the regional trail, Fresh Creek Regional Trail. So those are things that, partnering together with other entities and development, perhaps we can get a trail north-south. I thought that would be a good thing, because to be honest with you, and y'all probably see that too, trails are the number one thing that voters want. The number one thing. If they vote for park bonds, I think because of the trails, mostly. For other things too, but a lot for the trails. Okay, so that's a very fast review of a lot of things. I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys may have.
I have one. What I keep getting questioned about, and hi Valerie, how are you?
Hi, Jamie. Good to see you again.
Is the Wyoming Springs extension obviously is going to help move traffic north, but the biggest concern is what's going to happen to the intersection at Wyoming Springs and 620. That's a lot of traffic to hit 620 without any other way to go except east-west. Many years ago, there was, I think it was Arterial C. It was going to go off in through the Robinson Ranch area, connect maybe to Deepwood. Do you know anything about the county plans as far as Wyoming Springs extension south?
So a lot of that will be determined by what the Robinson family does with their property on the south side of 620. And there are discussions that they may be having with development plans and how that would tie into 620 in general. Obviously Great Oaks goes across and you've got O'Connor. That I think a lot of it will be dependent on what goes on the other side and how it's configured to be able, because we don't want a blockade. We don't want a whole bunch of traffic that wants to go one way and it can't. Then we have another problem.
Right.
So I think that's going to be an ongoing discussion. Currently, right now, we don't have any plans to do anything different at 620 in Wyoming. But again, once the road goes through and more traffic is on Wyoming, then that would be something to look at to see for a future project, what do we need to do? And I'm always open to discussions about how to fix a problem as long as they don't cause another one.
Right.
As much as we can help.
Well, and I think that's what people are concerned about is that when they bring in more traffic from Wyoming Springs north,
Mm-hmm.
right now, Wyoming Springs at certain times of the day backs up well past Park Valley.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing, I'm glad you mentioned that, because it made me think another thing that you and I have even talked about the school and the impact of Fern Bluff Elementary when and actually I was commissioner when we widened Wyoming Springs, and it was not in my precinct, but working alongside Commissioner Berkman, having meetings with you and others, that was a concern of how do we get the kids to school safely. That's still a concern, and as more traffic goes on Wyoming Springs, and right now even the level of traffic, because I drive Creek Bend a lot, I see the traffic that's happening there, and they're turning, trying to get somewhere, and they're going, perhaps fast. I wouldn't say anybody here in this audience, but what I'm saying is, that's always a concern, and so I think, I would like to further the discussion with you guys, with the school district and the city to try to find, is there something we can do at that intersection to accommodate more traffic and safe children? Okay, so I will commit to that, and I don't know who, Janie, obviously you can set it up whoever you want
Yeah.
on this, in this body, but, you know, I'm reaching out to the city of Round Rock as well. Of course, Brightwater in that area is the county's, you know, purview, and then it's Round Rock, but it's all in Round Rock, you know, that area is Round Rock, ETJ, so we would want to visit with all the parties.
Gotcha.
Okay.
I'll be happy to.
I wanted to mention that we're having the same problem on Brightwater Avenue. Cedar Park is now using it to cut through to go to Round Rock, Georgetown, and Northern Round Rock uses it to go to Cedar Park, North Austin. We're really a community now that has high traffic because of it. Brightwater is an ongoing problem. It's not uncommon to see a car going 50 miles an hour kind of roll through the stop intersection in front of Brightwater Park. It's getting scary. I know there's been additional patrols from the county, but it really needs to be addressed, and I hope that that's on your radar too.
You bet. Speed as well as, you know, crossings and stuff like that. You know, we looked at the crossing that happens right now at the school, but any other crossing, any other area. What I need from you is specifics. What intersection is there, time of day that's worse, and things like that, so we can try to address it appropriately.
All right, we'll do that.
Yeah, and let me just say that any of you, please don't hesitate to contact me. I've got, and any of the audience too, my email is real easy. It's like Commissioner, COMM, the number 3, COM3 at wilco.org. So COM3 at wilco.org. I'm happy to discuss any of these issues or anything else that comes up. And again, once Wyoming Springs North is complete to Sam Bass, we'll be able to revisit whatever, you know, additional issues we need to discuss at that time too. It'll be a clear picture.
Thank you.
All right. Is there anything else?
I have a quick question. You mentioned the mental health task force.
Yes.
Are y'all working at all with Round Rock ISD or any of the school districts on mental health issues? I'm just worried. 2 years of COVID has seemed to change everybody.
You know, it's interesting, George, as you would say that, because that is true. We've seen a big uptick in youth issues and just really across the board. But we do work with all the ISDs. I have met with all of them alongside with Bluebonnet Trails. Andrea Richardson is the director there, and either they are in the schools, they have a presence there in some of the ISDs, and some they do it a little differently, but they're always available to those students. And so I have 3 boys of my own. They're now men, but I appreciate the difficulty that folks are going through with all of the changes in COVID and everything else that's happening. So yes, we work alongside them as much as the ISD wants and needs. They present those, and we try to fill the gaps. In fact, we have a youth, to that point, we have a youth respite center that's about to open. It's 16 beds. It's going to open soon in the next month or so. We're waiting on furniture, but it's actually in Round Rock at the Bluebonnet Trails headquarters. They've given up some of their executive suite space and renovated it, trying to keep youth out of our judicial system. And then alongside one of our mental health facilities, mental health hospitals in Georgetown, Rock Springs, they are, with some of our federal money, we're helping them undertake an actual wing, a juvenile wing. And so I'm sad that there's a need to even do that. But in talking with all of the parties that I mentioned before, we're trying to fill the gaps and trying to address some of the issues.
Very good.
That reminds me of one more thing. You mentioned the Law Enforcement Divergence Center. Is that the one that holds folks just for 23 hours? So that
Did
they
you
don't
just
have
read
to go
about
to
it?
jail?
Did you just read about it? Yes,
I
ma'am.
did.
I'll talk a little bit more about that. We have 2 facilities that I'll make a distinction between. One is a respite center for adults. We've had that online for a number of years. It's in the same vicinity as the other facility, but it is a place where it's a 7 to 10 day optional stay. It helps people get back on track, back on their meds, whatever their issue is, but it's that level of care. The observation unit is for law enforcement. The citizens, like, you can't drop off someone as an individual. It'd be law enforcement. Trying to get them back on the beat as opposed to being out with someone for hours and hours waiting for a bed because we're underfunded in beds. So the first call is to Bluebonnet, and Bluebonnet will assess what is needed. And then if there's some available resource, the law enforcement will be able to go straight to that. If there's not, they'll be able to come to that facility and have the person stay there. It's not a residential unit. There are some places to rest and depending on the situation, but it's more chairs and very comfortable recliners kind of scenario that we've seen at other counties work really well. So that person can wait there in a safe place until there's the next thing, whatever that next thing is available.
That's terrific. That's
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, I'm really glad, in an effort to divert folks from the jail that don't need to be there, that have not committed a crime, they're not violent, like that, and help them, I think is the right thing. And we're seeing really good results with recidivism on that.
Thank you.
Anything else? It's been such a pleasure to be here with you tonight. I really thank you. And I would be happy to come periodically and just give updates and get feedback from you on what's going on. And so if that's something that you would like to do, I'd be happy to do that. Okay?
Very good.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so
Commissioner
much.
Taylor.
I hope everything's good.
Appreciate it.
Does anybody have a weather alert as we're all sitting here in kind of a dark? Still heading north? Okay.
I think it's heading north too. From what I understand, there was something in Florence and then it's gone to Gerald and north.
Okay.
Heading northeast.
Sky looks a little weird, but I think it's gonna pass us.
All right. General Manager, would you like to go next, or do we need to take Jack Garner? Your preference.
I would say take Jack and then the residents, then I'll go after that. If you
Okay,
like.
that's fine.
Okay.
All right. Our landscaper's here, so let's get him up to talk to us so he can get about his business as well. We appreciate you coming tonight, Mr. Garner.
Thank you. Maintenance is ongoing weekly. I think we're just about done with the oak leaf drop. Hopefully now we're into the pollen, which I'm sure all of you have seen all over your cars and all over yourselves. So hopefully be done with that soon, and it'll look a little tidier after we've been here. I've noticed on the way in, we could have just cleaned up and there's oak pollen on the sides on the curb line. So we are continuing to just mow along the sidewalks, a couple of passes in the green belts and the native areas, just trying to let the wildflowers come out. And speaking of the wildflowers, I know that there's not a very good wildflower bloom in some of the areas that we reseeded. I went out there and looked. It's just super, super dry right now. We put temporary irrigation out there to get them going, and pulled that once we had them going. And I went out there and looked, and there are quite a few of them, but they're just very, very small. So I'm hoping for rain in the next couple of weeks. We're already in the beginnings of a fairly severe drought. We have not had much rain over the winter or this spring. So we went through and have adjusted the clocks up even further today, just trying to get ahead of it. So keep that in mind, just with your own lawns and everything, is that, we're already going through a drought. So if that doesn't improve, it could be a severe drought this summer. Irrigation repairs from last time have been made, and they were going through while they were adjusting clocks and doing the checks for this month. So I'll have that report to Janie here next week. Turf fertilization and pre-emergent has all been applied. So hopefully that'll kick things off. I'm still waiting to put a post-emergent out on some of the weeds, some of the grassy weeds that I've seen in some of the sports fields. It's just been too windy to spray. So as soon as I get a weather window to do that, I will go out and do that. It shouldn't take me more than a day or two to do that. Continuing to treat the ant mounds as they come up. We've put a broadcastable out, so hopefully that'll knock them down as well. But anytime the guys have all the ant bait on their rigs and stuff, so they're putting that out as they see them. I know that they're continuing to come up. Since the last time we spoke, the annuals have all been replaced throughout the district with the sign beds, and here at the community center, they look really, really good. And then we also installed all of the perennial plant material that we owed y'all over at the Olson Meadows project. So that project has been completely done. So that basically ends the roughly 3-year, I think, renovation of all the parks that we embarked upon together. So looking forward to seeing that come up, and I've already noticed a lot of kids and even adults using it, playing on it, and stuff like that. So it's pretty neat to see. But if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Anybody?
I'm good. Finally, we ordered some park benches and such way last year. We just received it, was it last week? So in some of our butterfly and rest farms or whatever we have, there'll be some benches out. And so you'll also see new benches along the Oak Brook ponds and that type of
Okay.
thing.
Awesome.
So it took a long time to get them in.
Okay, great. Yeah,
Supply chain.
I'm still hoping the wildflowers will come up. I think if we get some rain, we need a good soaking rain. I think they'll come out. But even in the native areas where, just naturally they come up and are so pretty, they're few and far between right now. I know, out on 620, we're seeing some decent patches and everything. I just drove up from Clear Lake last weekend, and down further towards the coast, it's incredible. And as you start to get about an hour away from Austin, it's noticeably less. So we'll hope for some rain, and that doesn't mean they won't come up in the future. The way those work is that they've got a seed coating on them that they'll sit in the soil and wait for a couple of years, and when conditions are right, they'll come back out and lay a lot more seeds and everything. So I'm confident that they will have another shot at them, but this year it's not looking too good. So yeah, but
Thank you.
we're just kind of letting nature take its course out there. So so we'll hope for some rain.
Absolutely.
Jack, do you have any words of wisdom that you can share about, being preparing for the drought that our homeowners can take advantage of?
Yeah,
that we might
absolutely. I
put on the
think
website?
super important if you don't normally have this as part of your maintenance program is to do an aeration and a top dressing of a 1/4 inch of compost. That's going to work its way down into the soil, into the root zone of the plants, and help the moisture that we do get, help it hold on. That's probably the most important thing. And then just timely fertilization. But the top dress or the aeration followed by top dressing is the most important thing you can do to get your lawn ready for a drought. Absolutely. And we've got that on the schedule to do a couple of areas here. We're going to do it at the community center and over at Fern Bluff Park. Notice some of those mounds that get quite a bit of afternoon sun need a little bit of help. And so it gets a lot of foot traffic over there as well. So we're going to aerate those and put a top dressing of compost on those. But absolutely, for you homeowners, best thing you can do is do that. Mark your heads, your irrigation heads with flags so you don't run over them, so you don't cause a problem for yourselves. But then you can rent an aerator, walk behind an aerator at one of the big box stores for half a day, get after it. You need a 1/4 inch of compost and just kind of sling it all over the yard, rake it in. You don't want, I saw actually in the community I drove by, I should have taken a picture of it as for us what not to do, and I hope that's not somebody's yard who's here, but there was probably 2 inches of compost over the whole yard after it, and this was before it really broke in dormancy, and so I fear for that person's lawn. But right now everything is enough out of dormancy that you can go ahead and do that, and it'll definitely pay dividends this summer, because it's not looking good. We're definitely already over here at 620 on the Robinson Ranch. They've got that pond that you drive by, and it is almost out of water. So it's a pretty good indication of when we're going into a drought stage, is how much water that's holding, and it's almost empty. So
Thanks for the good news.
Thank you.
yeah. Okay. Well, thank y'all. Appreciate it.
Jack.
Thank you. All right, now we're going to move to citizens communications. Let's give a quick description here. We've got quite a few people signed up, so everyone will have 2 minutes to speak. When someone gets to 30 seconds left remaining, I'll hold up a white sheet of paper, and then once they hit their full 2 minutes, I'll hold up a yellow piece of paper so you can wrap up. And if I need to intervene, I will, but I figure everyone will wrap up after I hold up the yellow slip of paper. The board is only allowed to discuss items that are on the agenda. So we're not here to verbally address all your concerns, but this is your chance to speak to the board and for us to hear you. But we will not be responding, to any one particular person during citizens communications. So now that everyone knows the ground rules, let's go ahead and get going. First up is Trina DeShong, please.
Hey, George, do you want to mention for the folks who came in late that they can sign up using the yellow card?
Thank you very much. For folks who did come in late and didn't know, we have yellow piece of paper sign up to speak. You can still do that now. We can pass some backwards, or at the end, I'll ask if there's anyone else who wants to speak. And as you approach the podium, you can fill one out right quick. So thank you, Director Smith. I appreciate that. All right. Okay. Trina DeShong, please. Thank you.
Hello. My name is Trina DeShawn. I live at 8344 Glen Canyon Drive. I'm going to ask the board again, especially since this is being live streamed. When y'all talk, if y'all could talk directly into the mic, people who are hard of hearing won't be able to hear y'all. So I was researching an agreement, done a lot of researching over the past 2 years with the Wilco Sheriff's Department, which I really didn't even know we had a contract with them. And in it, there's a lot of information, and I think there's a lot of good information about that citizens would like to know. One of them is being that there's actually a report that they give to, I'm assuming their designee, which I'm assuming is Ms. Miller, with like how many traffic stops they make or how they interact with the community. And I think that would be a really good thing to put somewhere so citizens could see that somewhere. So maybe we could, if we saw if they had a white car go somewhere and we saw it, maybe we could also get in touch with law enforcement or keep our eye out on something. But we never get that report. All we get from Director Tieber, which I appreciate him, he's a great guy, is that we have like the number of, I guess, times they tour or whatever, and that they're doing good, which is great. I'm glad that they're doing good. But I think it would be really helpful for the residents, and I think it'd be good information for us. Also, this contract, we have a place, I guess, on the new website where there's contracts. There's a bunch of contracts from 2012 I saw. The only other one I saw on there was from 2021. So I didn't know if there were certain contracts that we're putting on there or if all contracts of all kind are going to be putting on there. The only reason I ask is because every time I request one, I'm going to have to pay for it. So I think it'd just be easier if we had it on the website, if we can do that. I don't know why we wouldn't be able to do that, but I think that'd be beneficial for the residents also. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. DeShong. Appreciate it. Next up, Mr. Yorm Gavan, please.
Hey. So I want to start by saying thank you to Kevin, Jessica, and Trina for running. We haven't had an election here in 10 years, and I know how hard it is. So we're all, it's hard. I really appreciate that we're doing this. It's amazing how important it is. We see the engagement from the community. A lot of the ideas, if it was benches that came from a post, I know we pre-ordered it, but pushing it, if it's water rebates, a lot of things are coming from the community, which is fantastic. And that's how important elections are for democracy. We need to have them. And it doesn't matter if Jessica and Kevin wins or Trina and myself. I just want to thank everybody who's running because it is hard. It does take a sacrifice. So kudos to you. Now, to the point I want to talk about is about our board packets. It's really important for you guys to read them. In March, we had a water report with Janie. Thank you for clarifying it. That showed that we had 27% water loss. But nobody here read the report and asked the question. And actually, a citizen pinged me and said, did you notice that there was 27%? Now, this month it's 2.5%. And again, Jenny clarified it. There was some problem with the reports. Maybe you can talk more about it. So it wasn't really 27% water loss, but it's important that you guys read these things and ask questions. That comes with the job. If it's about the financials, going over each line and just asking questions, it doesn't mean they don't have good reasons, but asking. So for example, we had like $1,700 office expenses last month for printing and supplies. Again, could be 100% justifiable, I'm not saying, but it's our job, it's your job to ask, to just understand how the taxes are being spent. That's it. Again, it's great information. I read it before I come to this meeting. Please do the same and ask questions.
Thank you, Mr. Gabon. Appreciate it. Next up, I would like to call the podium Richard Mason, please.
Hi, I'm Rick Mason. I live at 16828 Squaw Valley Lane, and I've been a resident since 1996, so a while now. This past year, I've been elected to the Oak Brook Board of Directors and are now serving, and it's been eye-opening. So had never had that experience before. I worked at Mount Alford, and I've since retired. And so I just wanted to voice my appreciation for the work that you do, because it's a rather thankless job, I've learned. And you hear a lot of complaints and other things like that. And you're trying to do what's best for our community. So I appreciate that, and I just want to say it.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Much appreciated. All right. Would Mr. Hilton Cruikshank please approach the podium? Good evening, sir.
Good evening, folks. Hope you're all doing well. My name is Hilton Cruikshank. I reside at 8301 Priest River Drive. And I would like to propose to the board some consideration around demarcating stop signs. We have stop signs dotted around the community. And where I live in a little semi-cul-de-sac, Klamath Falls and Priest River, I see Glen Canyon that intersects with Klamath Falls, and people roll through there. It's a bus pickup in the morning, it's a bus drop-off in the evening, and that's not the only intersection. I see it down Broken Branch, and I think it's easy for me to sit up here and complain about people rolling through stop signs, but I think what we could do proactively is to put some white lines in the middle of the road that maybe highlight that there is something there. Stop signs are sometimes obstructed by overhanging limbs of a tree, bushes, etc. And I'm not going to be the first one to throw a stone at a glass house. I'm just going to say that, but I see it more too often now, and because of the increase of traffic coming through Glen Canyon, cut-throughs, it's something's going to happen, and I'd rather us be a little proactive. Anyway, I thought I'd ask you guys to please consider that, and
Valerie Covey.
Yeah, that's it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, appreciate it. I have next Linton Ward, please.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm Linton Ward, living at 17212 Chadwick Court for 20 years now. And so I really appreciate the work you guys are doing. Prior to your tenure, we've had some financial craziness in the past. And I really appreciate the work you've done to get us down to low debt rate, the work you've done to keep the water flowing during the freeze. We were all the text we exchanged and Facebook notice we exchanged about Austin's boil water notice and Round Rock going down, and we really appreciate. It was a tough season, I know, but I really think that the work you guys have done to bring us into not only financial strong management will set us up for as we manage into the future. Everybody's gotten their appraisal notes for the county, and the growth in this area is going to cause just a real attention on the financial side. So while your management of the utility district, the parks, I really appreciate the greater attention to detail in the park and maintenance. Some things are getting fixed and stuff, and I really appreciate that. And I would ask that as you go into the future, this good financial backing will prepare us for these crazy high appraisal rates that the newcomers to the neighborhood will request, more services, et cetera. So being in a good financial backing will help us when we get to the new requests from the new recruits into the neighborhood. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. I have next Mr. Lonnie Robinson.
My name's Lonnie Robinson. I live at 17814 Park Valley Drive. I want to start off by thanking you all for low tax rates, nice parks, and reliable water and wastewater services. I mean, that's a big deal. I've been asking a lot of questions over the last year and haven't been getting a lot of answers, at least full answers. It just doesn't. Anyway, for example, last July, I sent an email to everybody on this board about deed restrictions and fines. I've yet to got any kind of answer. That's about 9 months ago. My new questions, well, they're not all new, but I'd like to ask some other questions. What reasonable judgment regarding car covers was ever given or considered? Never. That's been number one question for me for a long time, and no answers. Other questions. Why didn't Goodman know that car covers were not allowed for either one, Oak Brook or what's the other one, Stone Canyon? Why doesn't Stone Canyon and Oak Brook have a unsightly list like Fern Bluff does? Why not? Why are Stone Canyon and HOA committee members elected and Fern Bluff ACC members are appointed by some sort of mystery procedure? I don't know. Why does Facebook or Fern Bluff ACC have 2 voting board members on that committee, and on the other committees they have 2 board members, but they're not supposed to, they're advisory? Why is Fern Bluff different? You know, with the upcoming election, I've heard about open and transparent government, explaining why we do what we do, efficiency, transparency, and accountability. I hope whoever gets elected follows up on their promises. Thank you. So thank you for my 2 minutes for the month.
Thanks, sir. Much appreciated. All right. We've got 2 more. Mr. Bill Robelke? Rebelke. Pardon me for mispronouncing your name.
Sounds like the Oakport people are pretty happy. I'll be another one. I've never attended a meeting here, but in my past, I did serve as an HOA president. And as you folks may imagine, I had a few conversations with people who may have been a bit disgruntled, a bit unhappy. I've been a resident for 26 years here. Never had a single problem with the mud. It's been fantastic. We appreciate, my wife and I, everything that you guys do. Just wanted to say that. So thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Finally, unless we have any other folks who want to sign up to speak, I have Mr. Phil Burke. If there's anyone else, if you could pass your yellow sheets up if you wanted to speak tonight.
Good evening. My name is Phil Burke. I live at 201 Kettleman Lane North. I am new to the mud. I just hit my 6-month mark. I have lived, though, in Brushy Creek South for the past 17 years. I just want to say that I've seen you guys, maybe not known who exactly you were from afar, so to speak, right? And you guys always looked like you knew what you were doing, in my opinion. You know, I'm a big financial guy. You know, to me, a lot of things are about the money. And I noticed that there was debt when I moved back here many years ago, and now it seems like you guys don't have any more debt. So I applaud you for that. In addition to that, as I pass through neighborhoods and go visit friends of mine, your areas have always looked impeccable. That really matters to me. Why? Because as a father, as a husband, you know, we always want to make sure that, we have something to pass on to our children. And besides whatever investments I make in the future and, my financial economic status with my work employment, the next big thing that anybody would immediately tell you that could be considered generational wealth is your home. A lot of us can have nice homes, and maybe they're not in the mud or they're in HOA. Sometimes we fail to realize or remember that if your neighbors aren't up to par, doesn't necessarily mean that your home has as much value, because if you can't get people to move in, there's a problem. So anyway, I deliberately moved into here. I'm glad I did. I wish I could have done it 20 years ago, but I'm here now. So I'm getting to know everybody a little bit. I look forward to working with you guys in the future and seeing you around, but thank you for everything.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Burke. And we've got one more, Mr. David Trevino. And that will be the last speaker unless anyone else is here. Hasn't signed up yet.
So I'm David Trevino, 1433 Hargis Creek Trail. Been in Oak Brook for 20 years. And I just wanted to say to you guys and to those who are running for the board, how important the work that you do is. You know it is. I don't have to tell you. But this country, this city, this neighborhood doesn't function without people doing jobs like this. And it's fairly thankless. I don't know why you want to do it. I don't know why you volunteer for these things. And it really doesn't matter to me why you want to be and why you came here. But what does matter is that from my perspective, you guys are doing a good job. You're focusing on the right things, financial stability, nice parks, nice areas. We all have complaints. We all would like to see this tree removed or some new planting go in there. But you guys are moving in the right direction, and I do appreciate that. And I appreciate everybody who wants to serve in this kind of a role. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Trevino. Much appreciated. All right. If there's not anyone else who wishes to speak, we'll go ahead and jump to a little out of order, but we'll jump to the general manager's report.
Thank you, board. My written report is on page 23. If you have any questions about any of it, if the board will indulge me, I have a statement I would like to read. I'm very humbled by some of the statements from Commissioner Covey, and by the work that's needed in Wilco and all the people in need. And it kind of hit me as I was sitting here, how really blessed we all are. I mean, we all have our struggles, we all have our issues, but when you really step back a little bit, it's pretty humbling. Just thought I'd say that. As the board members may know, I've lived in the district since the very first year of development, 1987. As you can imagine, there's a lot of history in our mud over these 35 years. And you may know some of the historical information, as a couple of you were instrumental and involved with needed changes in our district, as well as the issues all government officials face in the performance of their duties. Past directors Jeff Bradley, Patrick Savarese, Farrell Walker, and Dave Quillman were very instrumental in many important decisions. And I want to thank them and you for your service to our district. But over the last few months, I've been contacted by numerous residents with questions about our history and, unfortunately, a lot of history revision. While everyone's entitled to their own opinion, facts are facts. and I'd like to just bring up a couple of facts. A group of residents in this district forced the very first tax rollback election in the state of Texas to prevent the tax rate from increasing from 92 cents to $1.20 per hundred. A group of residents lobbied for, and a bill was passed in 2005 in Texas to prevent seat jumping within mud boards, and our previous mud board was very guilty of this. Earlier mud directors, some still serving, filed a lawsuit against the district's operations company at the time, our engineer and the construction manager, seeking reimbursement for taxpayer funds that were spent on a non-working, had never worked SCADA system. The district received all taxpayer funds back, plus our attorney fees. A group of residents insisted on changes at our community center as it was being used and promoted as a wedding facility with numerous bridal advertising contracts. Chapter 54.201 states that a district may provide parks and recreational facilities for the inhabitants of the district. Due to changes by previous board members, while we can and do rent our facility to out-of-district residents, priority is given to our mud residents and at a much lower cost. A group of residents were very concerned about the impact to the district from the proposed creek bend extension. It was determined that the original right-of-way was granted illegally, and the city was planning to build a 4-lane divided roadway on top of the district's master meters and water lines. The board at the time successfully negotiated a settlement with the city whereby the city, not our mud taxpayers, paid to move the district's meter and infrastructure, saving our taxpayers approximately $400,000. The board of directors discovered that its previous management company had not properly represented the district's interests with the LCRA, which was our previous sewer provider. The board corrected the issue and subsequently negotiated a very favorable contract for sewer service when the BCR WWS sewer system was purchased by the city of Round Rock, city of Cedar Park, and Austin. The board of directors, after having changed management companies again, realized that the mud was receiving an unacceptable number of customer complaints, from billing and payment issues to non-response for new service applications, and the extremely long response time for repairs, water leaks, sewer backups, etc. The board decided to bring all of our operations in-house in 2014, which has had a dramatic change in the number of customer complaints, and our operations department is able to respond to leaks and breaks in minutes or hours, not days or weeks. In 2015, due to the improvements that we were incorporating in our district by our in-house staff, the district was granted a superior water system by the TCEQ. There is far more work that's been accomplished over the years, and I don't want to take up too much time, but I do have a couple of more highlights. On another issue, much has been made as to the board of directors at the time hiring me as the general manager of the MUD. In 2009, I was the president of the board and was overseeing many of the issues that I just spoke about, as our management company did not have the time nor the inclination to provide the contracted service for our district. In 2009, I was hired as the GM. Water Code 49.056 allows a director on the board to be hired as the general manager. That didn't occur in our district. And this is really not an unusual occurrence. In fact, our neighbor MUD, Brushy Creek MUD, after trying numerous candidates for a new general manager, has hired one of their directors to be their general manager. In 2020, the current board voted to approve an order establishing a civil penalty of up to $20,000 for a violation of district rules. This order was also meant to separately establish a fine policy for violations of deed restrictions in the Fern Bluff neighborhood. As our other two neighborhoods have an HOA and pay fees every month to their HOA. Fern Bluff is the only neighborhood that the MUD does deed enforcement. We have no HOA. Noncompliance by a few homeowners, most homeowners do not have violations, was costing the MUD taxpayers legal and administrative time, and discussion was that the non-compliant homeowners should bear the cost, not all of the taxpayers. The board was working on an enforcement fine policy, planning to continue to refine the specifics. The order, stated in MUD meetings, was never to charge a homeowner $20,000 for leaving a trash can at the curb. Yet, this was the misinterpretation spread around the neighborhood and on social media. This unnecessarily scared homeowners in our MUD. After many, many phone calls and emails, this misinformation was addressed as best as possible. I will say this about that order. It may have been imperfect, but that order and the board approving a civil penalty up to $20,000 was very, very helpful in our recent negotiations with the AT&T contractors that had illegally dumped into our green bells and our storm drains. We successfully protected our district, and the areas have been remediated. I want to address one more issue. Recently, a board member and a resident of Williamson, Travis County MUD 1 attended our MUD meetings, which is fine. The public is always welcome. But at our December 2021 meeting, that board member wanted to chastise and correct our MUD lawyer regarding statements made to our Fern Bluff board. Interestingly enough, he recently became the WTC MUD attorney. The board member had filed a lawsuit against her district, which was ultimately dismissed by a judge with prejudice. The lawsuit cost their taxpayers an extraordinary amount of money, and some of the Williamson Travis County MUD residents are now attending meetings and demanding that this MUD director repay those taxpayers the $300,000 in legal cost. The second resident that attended our meeting tried to shame our board for a lack of transparency on our website regarding open records requests. In fact, our website has had this information for many years under Contact Us. I was intrigued, so I checked the Williamson Travis County website. I didn't find any information anywhere regarding open records request. I was further intrigued because the water business is a fairly small community, and I'd heard about this MUD for years. The district is similar to ours. It had been started 2 years earlier than the Fern Bluff district, and it has several different neighborhoods, but only does deed enforcement in a few. I drove to the oldest neighborhood, and several streets were absolutely heartbreaking. Next to some very nicely maintained properties were some incredibly poorly maintained homes. I have pictures I'd like to share with you. You'll pass those around. At a recent meeting in our district, a gentleman that lives there and lives near one of the distressed homes brought a poster board with pictures and was pleading for help from their board. He expressed that he has been seeking help for a very long time, and his pleas seem to fall on deaf ears. As I left that neighborhood, I had one thought. This is why we do deed enforcement in the Fern Bluff neighborhood. And this is why it's important. No homeowner carefully maintaining his property and taking pride in his neighborhood should be subjected to having their property value destroyed along with their quality of life by a homeowner violating restrictive covenants. We as homeowners, we aren't on an island. We are part of a community. And I want to say thank you, board, for allowing me to address you and for all the challenging work and time you've given to our district over the years. I have offered numerous times to everyone and anyone to sit down and discuss past history, current events, and plans for our district. Facts are facts. I again will make that offer. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Appreciate that. All right, let's get us back in order with the agenda. Let's go to item number 6. Do we have any items to be removed from the consent agenda?
I don't have anything to be removed, but I did want to let the board know that Zycode, the company that was working on our website upgrade, felt very bad that it took so long. It was a whole employees issue. You can't find them, but they have refunded the entire amount that we paid to Zycode.
Oh, wow. Okay. Excellent. All right. So there's no items to be removed from the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make that motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Director Smith.
Second.
Second by Director Barnes. All in favor? It's unanimous. Consent agenda passes. Agenda item 9, new business. We have a cybersecurity training requirement. This is an annual, I believe.
It is.
Okay. I'll try not to be last this year.
I have an option for you. When you read your memo, there's 2 options that each board member can decide whether or not they meet that criteria, and I'll just need these back by June 15th.
Okay.
So that I can
All right.
file with the Department of Information Resources that we're all in compliance. If anybody has any questions, they can email me about them, or
Okay.
you can sign them after the meeting.
Perfect.
Suzanne, you said June 15th?
Yeah, June 15th, or I think I have June 14th in here.
Okay.
My deadline is June 15th, but I would really like them before then.
Okay.
So I'm not scrambling.
I think George said he's going to try and be first this time.
I didn't say first. I said not last, but we'll see what we can do. And then I also have revisions to the EPA's lead and copper rule. Do we have anything on that?
Yes, Mr. President. Excuse me, Mr. President, Directors, good evening. You do have a memorandum that we handed out outside your board packet. Most of this, you're very capable and able operator, Mr. Alaniz, is handling on your behalf. But we did, so this is not meant to be a technical memorandum by any stretch of the imagination, but we did want to put in front of you at least a reference to some of the legal changes that resulted from the lead and copper rule revisions. I won't read the memorandum to you, but I do encourage you to put it by your bedside in case you have insomnia. But just to kind of go over the highlights, the LCRR, the lead and copper rule revisions, those went into effect March 16th of last year. There is a compliance deadline of October 16th of 2024 for certain requirements that are provided under the LCRR. The big highlights for the LCRR is that there's a new trigger level with respect to the identification of lead in water systems. So if you reach 10 parts per billion, it does require water systems to take further treatment and monitoring actions, as well as provide public notifications when that trigger level is exceeded. It further requires water systems to investigate and catalog public and private water lines that are identified as LSLs, lead service lines. And those have to be cataloged and made publicly available to the community. I don't know just yet exactly what that's supposed to look like, whether that's going to be something that goes on local governmental entities' websites, if that's going to be an EPA deal or a combination thereof. We're learning this as we go. As I mentioned, it does have that compliance deadline of October 16th of 2024. And what it requires is that you develop a replacement plan for those LSLs by then. So it's not that you have to have gone in and replaced or identified and completely removed all lines that have lead by then, but you have to have that plan in place by that deadline. There was some concern about what we would have to do as a governmental entity in the instance that we have lead line LSLs. Sorry, I'm trying to stick with the jargon here. if in the event that we identify LSLs on private property, we are not required to fund replacing those lines, but we do have to identify them. But it does also allow us to replace them on property owners' behalves, and then they would reimburse for those expenses. So there is an avenue for private owners of LSLs to get remediation through their public water systems. But as a matter of policy, we'll have to evaluate that when and if those are identified, and what measures we want to take to make sure that those are replaced. Another big revision is that we now have to monitor for lead at elementary and child care facilities. That would be part of that catalog that I mentioned. And in the event that you have any exceedance of the system-wide levels, you do have to have notifications out within 24 hours. So those are the big highlights of the memo. I do my best to answer any questions, but like I said, I suspect Hector has a much firmer operating grasp on this. But those are just kind of the from the 10,000 foot view down, the changes to the LCRR. That's all I have, Mr. President.
All right. Operator Alanis, cataloging these items, is that going to be a significant burden on our operations?
No, I don't believe so. We've started work on this, months ago, and we actually, between Jeremiah and myself, know some of the folks that did some service line replacements. I don't know if anybody here remembers the Blue Poly fiasco years ago, where there was a lawsuit that Blue Poly was just terrible piping. So there was a lawsuit, class action lawsuit. Piping had to be replaced, so everything was replaced with black poly, which is to this day still in the ground. Since my indirect work with Fern Bluff Municipal Utility District, 2007, 2008, somewhere around there. Every single excavation that we've done, we have not seen anything even close to lead service lines. The gentleman that we have historically actually gave us a sworn statement basically saying all the blue poly lines he replaced, these sections. So a lot of our cataloging is already done. Or at least a good chunk of it. We'll continue. I don't think we'll have any issues. The district, having its inception since '87, about right, was right about the time when lead service lines were kind of hard to find, and nobody was actually allowing lead service lines to be installed by that point anyway. So as far as this rule is concerned, I think we're sitting pretty good. This year, we do have our lead and copper testing. We do it every 3 years. The window is June through September. We're in the process of contacting our contacts from last time around, which is getting a little bit harder because there's a lot of folks that are adding water softeners to their system. And I have a love-hate relationship with water softeners because, one, it's one of the biggest calls we get with low pressure, lack of maintenance, just, kind of, malfunctions, whatever happens with water softeners. But the most important thing is they change the chemistry of the water, which makes it more corrosive. So if there's any copper piping in the system, I mean, you've got corrosive water and you got copper leaching in your home. So an essential mineral. You're not going to die, but when you take the test, it'll show elevated copper levels. That's why we're trying to look for homes that do not have water softeners. And every time we go out on a call, one of the questions we're asking is, do you have a water softener? And, we've got the list and we're going through it right now. Our objective is to get through the testing within the first couple weeks of June. Like I said, we have a June through September timeframe. Lead and copper is just a big headache, so we want to get done with it. Our plan is to approach the school. We do have one
documented daycare in the district, so we've already approached them for lead and copper testing. So hopefully with schools next, we'll get their agreement. We'll include them in our lead and copper testing and kind of start that dialogue with Round Rock ISD. So far, so good. We're on plan.
Okay, all right, well, we trust y'all to let us know if, staffing requirements need to change to meet these regulatory burdens, so.
The interesting part is our job in this whole thing is acquire the sampling bottles, deliver them to folks who are willing to grab a sample for us. Then we pick them up, take them to the lab, and do all the reporting functions. So fortunately, Jeremiah has joined staff, and he is an essential part of our staffing, operation staffing, and administration. So things are flowing smoother operations-wise. So we're in good shape right now.
Excellent. Great. Glad to have Jeremiah on board. Okay, agenda item 10, roads. We have anything new on roads? I mean, we heard from Commissioner Kobe, so I think
I don't have any.
we're good. Okay.
Yeah.
Nothing to add there.
Actually, is this for the roads committee?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, it's roads in general, not
Okay.
the committee, but you can.
Well, I'll wait till the roads report then. No, this is.
This
It is the roads committee,
Okay.
so Janie and I
I take it
talked
back.
and we kind of revised the agenda.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to. I'm
All
sorry.
under roads committee.
Okay,
just 'cause
that's
it made
what.
sense to be there.
Okay. I wanted to mention that last month there was some requests to talk about traffic calming at Park Valley and Broken Branch, Brightwater, other areas, especially around the school. Kevin had the ability to speak with Commissioner Covey. She has agreed to ask the sheriff to increase deputy patrols in that area, and we had a discussion about traffic calming, especially around the school. It's a high priority. It's going to continue. It's very clear there's a problem in the neighborhood. They're very reluctant to put in speed bumps. I do think painting lines is a good idea. Again, county responsibility. It's not anything the MUD would do, but it is something that we will keep working on for the neighborhood.
And just as a little follow-up for that, one of the things whenever I talked to Commissioner Covey, I told her about the problems that we were having and the people not stopping and rolling through stop signs and all the troubles that we've been having. And she told me that the first step that she wanted to try was the increased law enforcement, like Director Stemko said. And then she said, if that doesn't work, then we'll start looking at other possibilities. Like I didn't think about painting the lines and maybe adding flashing lights and other things that might help drivers. But she is definitely open, and we are in open communications with the commissioner to relieve this problem that we are having. And I think that as the Wyoming Springs extension starts to pick up, as the bridge project starts to pick up even more than it already is, I think that we're going to see a lot more. We're still going to see more people driving from Cedar Park and driving from that northern Brushy Creek area. And I'm afraid to see them actually just start cutting through our neighborhoods, not just on Brightwater, but pulling up to Brightwater and Glen Canyon and saying, well, everybody else is going that way, so I'm going to go this way, because I think that'll cause even more problems. So, but that being said, we are in communication with Commissioner Covey to help relieve the traffic situation.
Excellent. Good. Glad to hear it. Yeah, some of those other measures like the traffic lines at the stop signs, that might be a good idea. That's something we should definitely keep on the agenda when we talk to the commissioner. Excellent. All right. We've done landscape maintenance. We've done general manager's report. Operator, do you have anything to add for the operations report part of it?
dad down.
Okay, fair enough.
Not today.
All right, let's go to the Budget Committee. Director Barnes, what do we have for the Budget Committee?
Well, actually, there is a couple of things. One of the things that we do have in our P&L for this month is there was some capital outlay improvement, and I was going to turn the floor over to Hector and tell us what kind of capital outlay we've been doing this month.
So back in the day, technology was a lot easier. You could just, get a computer and not have to worry about security and all that kind of good stuff. And now with this world of social media and live streaming, YouTube, we've done some upgrades, and a lot of what we spent this last month was technology. I mean, I think it was all technology. We've got some cameras. We've ordered. They're in. We've got the cabling done. We're adding 2 more cameras to these 2 rooms. Trying to get this whole YouTube live streaming thing coming through our network system. It's not as easy as just turn on a camera, let's live stream it, and kind of go from there. Because it is going through our main network, security concerns have been done. So, we built I think a very nice system, a dedicated system for live streaming. Sorry for the long answer, but it's all technology, live streaming, and security. So.
All right. Thank you. On another note, Mr. President, I have some, I think that people would see this as very good news. So I've been looking at some of the appraised values. I was talking to our general manager about this also. Last year for 2021, our appraised values came in at roughly $746 million. That generated $1.865 million in tax revenue at 0.25 per $100 valuation. So that's what we've been using for this year. Now this year, of course, it's still early because it hadn't been certified yet. We haven't gotten the official numbers yet, but kind of a preliminary number has us coming in at about $893 million in revenue. And so valuations, not revenue. I misspoke.
Same about to implement a rate increase.
Exactly.
So what that means, so that we can generate the same revenue or close to the same revenue as we did last year, one of the things that I am going to be proposing that we look at for the next year is that we drop our tax rate from 0.25 per $100 valuation to 0.21. So that would be a 4-cent drop in our tax rate. And that would still generate, if I can talk, that would still generate about $1.759 million in revenue. It's a little bit lower than last year, but we have also been operating very efficiently. We've been operating very well as far as our budget goes. And when we start talking about tax rates in a couple of months, I am really sure that we can drop our tax rate by that much. I mean, it's almost a 20% tax rate reduction that I think that we should definitely look at.
Excellent. Well, that's great preliminary news on the budget front then for next year. That's great.
May I ask if with the supply chain challenges, is that accommodating anticipation of prices rising just for our cost?
We will look at it. I do know that, some of our expenses are going to go up, but as Director Barnes said, we've been operating under budget, well, for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
So we may be able to, tweak some of the accounts, but more where we are fearful that we may have some of these increases, and maybe move some out of those that we know we've been operating under budget on.
Oh, that's great.
Because we do budget very conservatively, always have.
Great.
Does that budget, Director Barnes, include any, what's the word I'm looking for, reserves in case of some kind of catastrophic issue that we have to cover?
It's actually a very good question, Director Smith. One of the things that we do have, and we've been looking at this on the budget for the past several years. Well, since I've been on the board, it has been a big play. Whenever I first came on the board in 2017, I think our reserves were sitting at right around 8 months, right around there. I think currently we're looking at 10 to 11 month worth of reserves. And while I know some people think that we shouldn't spend our money as a savings account, I think as we all know, thinking about past history, thinking about some of the stuff that could happen, I'm perfectly fine with having 10 months of reserve in the bank so that in case something catastrophic happens, I want to be able to have that money, not have to issue a bond to go into debt, not have to, if something happens with the water tower, I want to be able to sit there and look and say, hey, we've got the money, let's fix it. I don't want to go back into debt. So yes, so we are looking at right now about 10 months, maybe 11 months worth of reserves.
And that's on top of the proposed budget.
Yep.
Cool. Thank you.
Plus, we're an aging mud, so we, at this point, we need to have more than a newer mud that usually would have 6 months.
Mhm.
So I think it's responsible.
Very good. Thank you, Director Barnes.
All right. Excellent. That's great financial news. Fabulous. Parks and Recreation Committee. Do we have anything?
I think I kind of covered it with the landscape. I would say I apologize to the board that it took so long to get the park equipment in, but I mean, really, I didn't have anything to do with it. I didn't build it. We just ordered it, and it took forever. And it is supply chain. Let me qualify that. It is supply chain, but it's also these vendors are making new builds priority, i.e. a brand new school. They're going to get park equipment before replacement park equipment. So it's been a number of things that has sort of slowed down the process.
Great. And where are we doing replacements at? Refresh my memory.
Kind of all over the district. We had several benches in the Oak Brook area too, in the Oak
Two by
Brook
the
area,
ponds.
by our ponds. Cheatham Park, we had a really bad picnic table that, they burned the plastic coating on them. Some of the benches, some benches at Fern Bluff Park, specifically by the basketball courts. I'm trying to think. Oh, and along our along our trails, I'm sure y'all know that there's different benches at different areas. So they're kind of scattered throughout the district. No one individual park was getting it. We tried to hit the worst.
Okay.
And then we'll probably have
So we can do rolling refreshes.
That's exactly right. Instead of trying to
Do it all at
we don't have the staff, and we can't hire the staff to do an all-out replacement. So we'll just do this, a little bit as we go along.
Okay.
And then the downtown benches for our pollinator gardens came in as well.
Excellent. Very good.
I know this is more of the green belt than the parks, I guess, but I ran into AT&T over on O'Connor. Oh, did you? Okay, because they parked this big truck on Oak Brook property, and then they told me that, well, they just went through the whole back end over to Hillside. And I didn't know if you knew about that, because I just found out about that, because you can see the tire where the,
Where?
Right where our district sign is.
right, cuts right in there, and it goes across.
I will happily look into this.
Okay.
Well, I got a picture of the truck, and I talked to the fella.
Backing into Brushy Creek. AT&T is now finishing up at the north side of Brightwater, and they're working into Brushy Creek. I'm sure we all heard about them hitting the big water line at O'Connor. And yeah. So we've been successful so far, but I don't in any way think that until AT&T is out of the area that we're not going to have ongoing problems.
Yeah.
So again, thank you for that $20,000 hammer.
Right. So I just want to make sure you knew that they had gone back along the fence line of the Brushy Creek area, but in the Fern Bluff area, and on that property that is still owned by Oak Brook. And I went and yelled at them because they parked this big truck there, and I think we have irrigation lines under there. Because I remember AT&T parked a truck in there and broke a line on us. So if you haven't already, you might want to just check it out and make sure they didn't damage anything on us.
Take pictures everywhere you see that. Pictures are really important.
Yeah, I'll send you the ones I got today from the truck parked
That'd be good.
in there. So,
All right. District Community Center Committee, do we have anything?
We do. I'll expand a little bit on what Hector was addressing with the capital layouts. The use of the center has broadened. We're having more rentals for seminars, trainings, as work patterns change, as people work remotely. Maybe they don't have brick and mortar buildings to go to any longer. So what Hector has been completing, besides upgraded security that's required for our cybersecurity, we now will be able to have live streaming for trainings, seminars, and it's really giving more use for this facility besides just parties and people having good times and playing with children and the things that we love that happens. But especially during the daytime when use isn't as great, we've expanded it and to the ability that the state of Texas can now offer water certification programs here, and they've started doing that already. So right in our own community, it's and the added benefit of live streaming our meetings. So it's a great work that you guys did. Thank you.
All righty. Next up, Deed Restriction Committee. Do we have any news or updates? None? All right. Let's move on then to the Security Committee. I can tell you in the last week, we had an incident at one of our water facilities where someone tried to get past and evade our MUD employees. As a result, the Williamson County Sheriff's Office was called, and they issued a verbal criminal trespass warning to a Mr. Snyder of Priest River Drive. So I just want to reiterate here that our water facilities, our pumping stations, and our towers are critical infrastructure facilities. They need to be secure. We are not allowed to have unauthorized access to them. We take the security of these facilities very seriously. The criminal trespass warning that was issued is the least possible sanction that could have been taken. What this individual did, he could have been arrested on federal charges. So I want everyone to know that we take this very seriously, and we will continue to do so. And I don't really have anything else for the Security Committee. That's the main thing I have.
I will expand a little bit on that. I've got just some pictures. This whole incident started because of a comment that was out on social media that the district's ATV was being driven by a young girl and with children. It wasn't our ATV. I tried to answer it, but as all things social media, it kind of became a life of its own. But it started because of our ATV, and then that was the premise of as told to one of our employees as to why this person wanted to gain access to our water tower. Here's some pictures. It clearly shows our facility it's got notices not there. I want our board to know that there are a lot of things that your employees take seriously, pretty much everything. But our water system, given today's world, is critical. We cannot, what's the word I want? We have to take it super seriously. There's no way around it. We're mandated by the federal government. We're mandated by the state. We're mandated from the TCEQ. It's everywhere. The response that I chose by contacting the sheriff was without fear or favor. It would be done regardless of who it was, even though that's not what we're hearing, but regardless. But I want this board to know that everybody that works for this district takes it very, very seriously, and we will continue taking it seriously.
And I will remind everyone that the order that we passed that adopted the statutory limits for a fine for people damaging or threatening district property, one of the reasons we implemented that was because a truck tried to hook up to one of our fire hydrants and potentially compromised our entire water system if it didn't have any backflow prevention on it. So having a safe water supply is one of our primary responsibilities. Priority one.
Yes.
Anyway, I just wanted to reiterate that, and I want to thank all of our MUD employees in this incident. I think everyone had a great response, and we will continue to have a great response and do everything we can to keep our water supply free from any threat.
In that packet of pictures that I sent you, it's pictures of the gates. You've all seen them, but it's a picture of the MUD's ATV, and then some of the secondary pictures are other ATVs that are in our district. When the law changed that allow these in neighborhoods, we have several residents that have these. I understand where there may have been, some misidentification, but to me, I'll just say this, it is very sad that there is a segment of our our population that just flat won't believe facts, i.e. it wasn't our mule. It just wasn't our mule. So I wanted y'all to see our mule is clearly marked. It clearly has all required information with lights and everything. So I have to report these things to you, and so I have.
No, absolutely. I appreciate it.
Darn thing even has blinkers.
Yeah.
Oh, it does have blinkers.
Fat tires.
Does it have directional blinkers like go around? Does it really? Excellent. Wow. Okay. You surprised me.
Yes.
Communications Committee, what do we have?
I have nothing at this time. I'm happy to say that the new website is up. Sad to say that I haven't had time to actually go through it myself fully, but I will. And I thank Janie and everybody for spearheading the change, because from what I've seen, it looks really nice. So
thank you.
So that's and that's really it.
Okay. Yeah. Excellent. Thank you, Director Smith. Appreciate it. Attorney's report. Do we have anything?
No, sir, Mr. President.
Excellent. Next meeting date, May 10th. Are we going to?
Mr. President, before you do that, I was just looking, and I may have missed it or fell asleep, but did we approve the meeting minutes from last meeting?
Oh,
in the consent agenda. It's in the consent
Oh, it was in there?
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Okay.
And I put the motion out there for it.
Yeah, you did.
Well, there you go.
You did.
I'm still
But
on
thank
Hawaiian.
you for,
I'm still on Hawaiian time.
thank you for keeping us on our toes. There you go. We're going to be able to have a quorum for May 10th. Think we're good. Okay, good.
I also just want to point out that we will have to canvass the election, so we'll have to call a special meeting, and that will be totally dependent, whether we have a time frame. I don't have that right in front of me, but it'll be dependent on when we get the results from Williamson County.
So if we don't have them by the 10th, we'll have
If we
to
don't have
have
it
a
by the
separate
10th,
meeting.
we'll have to have a separate meeting.
That's fine.
That's correct. And I won't know if they'll be able to provide me certified results by then or not, so. I'll let you know. if you need-
It's typically at least 10 days to 2 weeks before they provide them.
So we should plan on.
You probably should plan
On
on it.
another
I think
meeting,
I can send you the latest date that you could canvass. I'll
Okay.
Send you the date.
Okay, very good.
Plan.
So otherwise, let's just set the meeting for second Tuesday, May 10th. Future agenda items, do we have any?
I may be bringing to the board some bids for doing our wastewater line and cleaning and televising. It's a big ticket item. It is in our budget, but it's another regulation that we need to comply with. So.
And that's for a third of the district or the entire district?
The entire district.
Entire district.
We stopped doing the
Partial?
half district and half district because we budget for it a little bit every single year. Then we do it all at the same time. We get a better price when we do it that way too.
Oh, well, there you go.
Duh.
Excellent.
We like good deals.
We love good deals.
All right, do I have a meeting? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Director Barnes, motion to adjourn, second by Director Stemko. All in favor? 4 votes to none. 7:49, this meeting of the Fern Bluff Mud Board of Directors is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Why did you do that ethics report? You said we have to file it even if we don't raise. Okay. No, that's.